So 4 things that I like about the Nike Free Metcon 4 is number 1, if you are a fan of the Nike Free technology that they use in some of their training shoes, then I think you're gonna love this model. The Nike Free tech in this shoe gives it a very maneuverable and very flexible feel. So if you're looking for full maneuverability and comfort in this model and responsiveness, then I think you're gonna like the Nike Free Metcon 4 due to the Nike Free technology. The second thing that I like about this model is that they brought back the chain link upper construction. So up here throughout the midfoot and the forefoot, we have that chain link construction that is similar to the first Nike Free Metcon that they produced a couple years ago. And personally, I love that upper construction for durability, breathability, and overall lightweight maneuverability. The third thing that I like about this model is the back Huarache strap back here. So it provides the heel with a very locked down feeling. They put this in and said it's a nod to the Huarache Nike shoes. So if you like that in your training shoes, then you're gonna like how this feels because that strap makes this model feel very secure when it comes to the boot of the shoe. The fourth thing that I like about this model is just the overall lightweight construction of it. So this is a booty design shoe, so as you can see, there is no separate tongue, and overall it is very lightweight. So if you want a shoe that feels very light on the foot and very accommodating for a variety of activities, then I think you're gonna like the Nike Free Metcon 4. But now let's talk about a couple of cons that I noticed with the shoe. So when it comes to cons, I'm gonna be honest, the first time I put the shoe on and trained in it, I actually didn't like it at all. I thought that it felt very tight on the foot and very uncomfortable. However, after wearing it for a couple of good training sessions, it is starting to stretch just a tiny bit and accommodate for my foot a little bit better. But that brings us to our first con, which is that the forefoot and midfoot are very tight. And I think that could be a problem for folks with wider or flatter feet. So you may want to size up a half size to a full size if that is you. I don't want you to get a shoe that's going to feel way too tight and be very uncomfortable, because this shoe is so accommodating that I think it is a solid model for wearing on a day-to-day basis, but also to the gym. And if it's way too tight to begin with, then it's going to be uncomfortable across the board. So I will say, be very conscious of this model when it comes to the midfoot and forefoot and how it fits if you're thinking about the shoe. If you can try it on, then I would definitely recommend doing so. The second con I could see folks having with the shoe is that it's not going to be your best bet for stable training. Now, contextually speaking, the Nike Free Metcon 4 is not designed for maxing out with barbell movement. So when we understand the niche activities that this is going to be good for, it makes sense why it's not going to be the most stable trainer out there. However, Nike does list in the description of the shoe, tackling your heaviest lifts, like I'm not using this for my heaviest lifts. So that all being said, if you are looking for an incredibly stable trainer, then I would look for other options on the market. However, for the recreational athlete, I do think the stability in this model will be just fine. But do note that with the Nike Free technology, there's going to be a little bit of compression under certain loads. And any load over 300 pounds, I noticed that the feet were compressing a little bit. So I would probably say cap it around there. But obviously, apply the context of your needs into how you want to use these shoes. But overall, those are my 2 cons with this model. I've been a fan of it ever since after that first wear. The first wear, I again wasn't sure about the sizing and fit. Honestly, I could probably go up a half size in this model and feel a bit more comfortable, but they are starting to stretch and accommodate my foot a little bit better, which is making them much more comfortable across the board. Plus, I really dig how maneuverable that forefoot is, especially for agility movements. But now let's dive into performance, because I think that's going to be the biggest factor when it comes to deciding if this shoe is going to be a good fit for you. When discussing performance, I'm going to break this section into a lifting section, plyometric and agility section, and day-to-day and shorter / mid-range runs. Now, on a lifting basis, the shoe is what you'd expect from a Nike Free Metcon model. It has a slightly thicker midsole. It does have that Nike Free tech. It is very flexible. So again, it's not going to be the most stable option on the market. If you are somebody though who does recreational training, you don't plan on going super heavy in the shoe, I think the stability will be just fine. Plus, we do have a pretty stable heel back there. So when it comes to the posterior portion of the foot, you are going to feel very locked down and stable under a variety of movements and loads. When it comes to agility and plyometrics, I honestly love this shoe. It took me a minute once again to really break them in when it comes to the overall stretch of the upper, but now I have been a really big fan of how maneuverable and accommodating this upper is. It takes literally no time to break in the midsole and outsole. You instantly have flex right away, and like as you can see, like I keep doing this, and it's because like it's kind of actually fun, but also it just literally is that flexible. So if you're moving laterally, forward, backwards, if you're doing sprints, if you're doing lighter runs, this model does a really good job. And in plyometric movements too, you have a lot of responsiveness and a lot of hop in the shoe's midsole. So when it comes to a day-to-day basis wear and more of our shorter / mid-range runs, on a day-to-day basis, I do think the shoe is comfortable and it's a good option for just wearing on a day-to-day basis if you're doing errands, walking the dogs, etc., wearing it to work. But I will say, note the sizing and try them on first before you buy them, because you may need to size up a half size or a full size depending on how the shoe fits. Despite it having a little bit more of an accommodating feel and stretching to my foot, I still could probably go up a half size and have the shoe be a bit more comfortable. So keep that in mind when it comes to day-to-day comfort with this shoe. On a shorter / mid-range run basis, this model does a fairly good job. I personally like the Nike Free Tech. It gives you a lot of hop, especially if you're focusing more on forefoot running. So if you are trying to use this shoe for runs between like 1, 3, maybe 5 miles, I think you should be pretty safe in this model. Now do note, if you're running longer distances, you might want to find a slightly more niche running shoe. But if you are just that recreational person that wants to wear this model for shorter runs, so if you go to the gym and train, if you do a HIIT class and you want to do some running afterwards, I think you'll be plenty fine in this shoe. So is the Nike Free Metcon 4 worth it? I think if you are a recreational lifter and somebody who likes to do HIIT training, agility work, lighter runs, and some lifting all in their training sessions on a weekly basis, then I think you'll like this model. Just understand that the sizing is a little bit weird, so you may want to go up a half size, and also note that it's not going to be the most stable option on the market. But if those previous activities sound like you, then I think you're going to dig the shoe. To reiterate on sizing and fit once more, I would say that number 1, try these on before you buy if you can. And number 2, most folks I think are going to be better served going up a half size in this model. And if you have a wider or flatter foot, then going up a full size might be a good bet. Since the midfoot and the toe are slightly more narrow in the shoe, if you have a wider foot, these could feel pretty uncomfortable for you. They have stretched a little bit and feel a bit more comfortable on my foot overall. But if I went up a half size, I probably wouldn't hate that, especially for a day-to-day wear basis. As for price, for the Nike Free Metcon 4, you can expect to pay $120 USD. Now, when I bought these, I bought them the day they came out and had them overnight shipped, so they were a bit more pricey for me, but is $120 worth it for this model? Yes and no. I think if you nail the sizing correctly and you can wear these on a day-to-day basis and to train in, then I do think the price is worth it. They are very interesting feeling, and I think if you are that person who does like HIIT workouts, agility, plyometrics, and some light lifting, then you're gonna love this shoe. Plus, if you're a fan of the booty design that Nike offers in a lot of their training shoes, then you're definitely gonna like the shoe. But overall, $120, not the most cost-efficient price, but not the worst price in the world. However, it really comes down to how you plan to wear these shoes on a weekly basis. All right guys, now let's go over the construction of the Nike Free Metcon 4. So up here on the toe, we have an extended outsole that comes up, covers the big toe and like the medial 2 toes on the foot. That's awesome for toe dragging and durability purposes. Then we have the synthetic material that kind of encapsulates the whole toe box too, which is another good sign for durability, especially when it comes to friction that may occur up here on the toe box. As mentioned in the pros, we have that chain link upper that is similar to the original Nike Free X Metcon. Personally, I'm a big fan of this upper, especially in training shoes. And then on the midfoot, we have 4 eyelets that go up. They all have this structure where they come out of this inner loop. Overall, they feel pretty dang secure. And as mentioned before, the midfoot and toe box are very tight in this model. So when you really tighten the shoe up, it feels very tight and very form-fitting around the shoe. So we have a boot design back here. Overall, decent stretch to it. Personally, I like that there's not a lot of stretch, but do note this can be a pain to get on. So you really have to grab the tongue portion and the heel and really pull it on to get the shoe on, especially if you are sweaty. Back here on the heel, we have that Huarache strap. So we have that little nod to the original Huarache line. We have some Nike branding back here, it's rubber. And then on the midfoot, throughout the midsole here, we have this foam material. It does a decent job at resisting compression, but as you can see, it's not very difficult for me to kind of compress this material, and that's why I recommend not going so heavy in the shoe. And then flipping the shoe over itself, you can see the Nike Free Tech through the forefoot, toe, and midfoot in this model. Causes a nice level of disassociation there. We have a nice little dip here in the medial side of the shoe. And then back here on the heel, we have some more Nike Metcon branding and a pretty stable base. The heel doesn't compress that much, and it does provide a nice level of stability. Overall, I think those are the main callouts about this model. If you have any questions on this one, drop them down below. This model is very similar to the Nike Free Metcon 3, so if you have worn that shoe, expect something very similar. However, the upper construction will be a bit different. All right guys, that wraps up my review of the Nike Free Metcon 4. overall, these shoes have grown on me, and I think that the forefoot and toe box in this shoe feel really interesting, and if you get the sizing right, then I think you will like this model. If you have any questions on this shoe, hit me in the comments below, and if you know my powerlifting coach, do not tell him how much I've been training in these shoes and doing runs and so forth, because I'm trying to prep for a meet currently, so shh. But as always guys, drop a like on the video, drop subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one.